voiceover talent came to me looking to improve his sound, and after we got some proper gain staging with his preamp, we adjusted some recording levels, we got some mic technique tips in place, we were able to get him a great sound, and that's what I'm going to go over with you today. I'm Lenny B., voiceover audio engineer. Let's make your voice sound better. Well, I got to say, I started working with people and voiceover artists and voiceover actors online from all over the world. I started, I think it's August of 2020. So it was right in the middle of the pandemic. And I got to say, everybody that I've met has been so nice and just wonderful people. Today, our voiceover talent that we're working with, his voice here, his name is Pedro. He's from Lisbon, Portugal. He originally started with a Lewitt LCT 440 Pure microphone, which I actually like. And this was his first submission here. And then we progressed, and I'm going to walk you through what happened and what we were able to do. Let's listen to it. And the first thing I noticed when he sent me this is the very first file that he sent, and he was asking for help. Let's take a listen. You'll notice it's low, and usually this is a VU meter, not a peak meter. And I like to get right to 0 on the VU meter, which is different. It's calibrated to -18. So let's hear what his 440 Pure sounds like.
Presenter in a local radio station, because I love to communicate.
I'm going to turn it up here because it's really low. So this is the original recording level that he sent, and let's get it to a nice level here so we could hear it well. And this is what it sounds like.
Hello, my friend. I hope that you are doing well. I'm Pedro, or Peter in English. I'm 38 years old, and I'm from Portugal.
So it doesn't sound bad. He's actually got a really nice little office room that he's recording in. No sound treatment in the contemporary definition of that. He actually is, he has a big, huge panel of a bookshelf with lots of books and filled with books and things behind him, and also on either side of him, and he's kind of in a little cubby. And I'm doing more and more research about the room treatment and bass traps and isolation versus diffusion and all that stuff. And this is actually a pretty great sound. You know, there are a few things better naturally than a bookshelf full of books and things for diffusion. So we're hearing it here, and so the room sounds pretty good. I like the Lewitt 440 Pure microphones. You know, if you compare it with something more expensive or a better microphone or a boutique level mic, you can hear the difference in the high end. But I mean, this sounds really good. This is not bad here, but we're going to try to make it better. So the first thing I did is I went over with him the proper levels, and I'm going to pull up a peak meter. All right, so I'm looking at a peak meter. This is one of the meters that comes in Apple's Logic Pro, and I'll put his audio back down to what he originally sent me. And if we play it back while we're looking at the meter,
I hope that you are doing
tell you
well.
a few things.
I'm Pedro, or Peter in English. I'm 38 years old, and I'm from Portugal.
So for voiceover, I'll tell you what I'm looking for, and this is what really helps hit the sweet spots for the plugins and the processing. It's also going to minimize your noise floor, and it's also going to allow, this is the key, you have to allow headroom here for processing and things. Now, this is a recording level, and a lot of people get it confused with a mastering level. Totally, totally different. Mastering is a different process, and we're going to go into that one day. But for recording and capturing all of the aspects of your voice during a voiceover, this is what you want to do. You may hear, -16 to -10. Average is that's a good place to be. And I always like to say never peak over -6, because that's the least headroom. All this up here before we get to 0, and then it peaks, and then we're over and distorted, and then you get digital peaks. I want this space. I need this space to process. This is where the work of the EQ and compressor and the de-esser and all of the processing happens. I need that space to work. So imagine if this was an exposure of a camera or a video or a photograph. You don't want to overexpose and have your stuff way up here, and then everything is too bright. And you don't want to underexpose when everything is down here, because everything is too dark, and you lose the dark detail. When it's all the way up here, you lose the high detail. You need a audio correct exposure, and that is what we're looking for between -16 and 10, I would say, is kind of the average. And then I want nothing peaking over 6. So this is what it looks like.
My first job was radio broadcast presenter.
So we're averaging around,
local...
minus 24 to 20. That's where it's kind of living. It's bouncing up and down. And the peaks are maybe every once in a while negative 12. I'm going to turn it back up to where we were. I think we increased it about 7 dB. I know this isn't very exciting, but this is really important stuff to really get a good sound. It's the foundation of you getting a really good quality voiceover. So now let's take a look at it.
Radio station, because I love to communicate.
This is good. We're bouncing at negative 9 and negative 16.
Music to listen, and also share.
And his peaks, like these up here, when we hit this peak, you could see the high little consonants in his voice. These things right here. These peaks, I don't want them to go anywhere over negative 6 at the highest.
What? I never forgot those years.
So it's negative 6.7. We're getting close. So that is the absolute highest that I want to be. And we're talking in negatives, which makes it more confusing, but that's why negative 6.7 is actually lower than negative 6. Okay, so I hope that kind of helped out. So let's put this back so you can visually see what he sent. And I said, okay, Pedro, the first thing we have to do is we've got to get your levels in check. So then he sent me this.
How do you do? Here I am, sending you once again my audio file.
Which was better, okay? We got much closer. Let me open that again, level meter. Let's see. So this was much better.
With my voice recorded. This particular one is from my AKG 414.
So he changed to an AKG microphone, which he was planning to do. So the quality of the mic is better. But I noticed something, and see if you can hear it when I play back. See if you hear something that jumps out at you right here.
This particular one is from my AKG 414.
When he says 414, I heard a little distortion. There's a little something going on, a little saturation, little distortion. Something is happening. And I know it's not the level that he sent me because he's in a great range. So I thought to myself, must be something else happening. I'll play it for you one more time, see if you can hear it this time at the 414 part when he talks about his microphone.
This particular one is from my AKG 414 XL2 directly to my mixer.
So he's using a mixer. It's a USB mixer, Mackie Pro FX10 version 3. And I like Mackie stuff. And you can absolutely use some of these new USB mixers. I know a lot of people like to have the hands-on of the sliders and the knobs and the physical aspect of it. That's totally cool. But I was thinking, all right, we've got a problem. This is not peaking at all on the input meter. And so I know his recording level's okay. So this must be a gain staging issue. Now on this mixer, he has a gain knob just like you would on a Focusrite interface or an Audient interface or an Apollo interface. So I imagine that this is probably the issue. His gain was a little too high. He was peaking on his mixer, and then he was compensating for it. So we did a Zoom call, and we looked at the mixer, and we went through and really adjusted all of the gain staging. So we weren't getting any distortion or overs in any part of his microphone chain. Very important in the hardware. So then we had the gain staging correct, and then he sent me a final file, and we'll see here on the meter again.
Começar com a pergunta óbvia.
This time he's speaking in Portuguese.
Você precisa converter facilmente as gravações de áudio em texto. Muitas pessoas usam
really good level here. We're bouncing in the right place and we're not peaking over 6, so this is great. This is what I'm looking for.
Até transcrever depoimentos de testemunhas em processo.
This level is optimizing both sides. You're getting enough of the detail and the high detail. I got plenty of room to work with, and we're way above the noise floor no matter what equipment you're using or if you have a little noise in the room or whatever. So that's a good audio exposure to have. So then we went over to the processing, and I used for him a couple. We went with the Sheps Omni-Channel by Waves, one of my favorite processors to use, and we've got a little saturation in the preamp, some even harmonics. We also cut off some of the very low end, anything below 47 hertz. And this thump is a low resonance boost, and it sounded really nice on his voice. We've got a gate expander we're using to cut down some of the noise between his words. We have a de-esser set, and we're We're using the de-esser at about 4,200 hertz and up, and I'm using just the shelf. And this really kind of tamed any of the sibilants, but I tell you, the AKG C414 has a wonderful high end, and it's really smooth, and so that's all we did there, and that's all we had to do there. The highs in this EQ, I think, is what makes it maybe my favorite. I really love the sweetness of this EQ, and we're boosting everything above 5,800 hertz, and we did a little mid-range, a little clarity around 1,800. We dropped some of the tone. There was a little boxiness in his voice around 237, and then I bumped up some of the bass. This is just around 100 hertz, and it also you can choose the low frequency, and this really gives that rumble, that warmth, that earth, that pay attention to me kind of a sound. Really, really wonderful. We're using a VCA compressor, which is kind of like a bus compressor. It's very smooth, and we're only really just only taking off maybe 1 to 3 dB of gain. And then we're gain staging it again to make sure what's coming in is the same as what's going out. We've got an audio track by Waves that we're going into, but let's hear what just the Shep's Omni-channel is adding to the voice. Here's before.
Curioso para saber como converter a sua gravação de voz em texto, revelamos 5 maneiras de converter texto de gravação de voz neste breve guia. Vamos começar com a pergunta óbvia. Você precisa converter facilmente as gravações de áudio em texto? Muitas pessoas usam a transcrição em algum momento das suas vidas, desde fazer anotações em reuniões de negócios até transcrever depoimentos de testemunhas em processos judiciais.
Very cool. And then let's look at the second plug-in in the chain here. This is a parametric EQ. It doesn't get this. It's called Audio Track from Waves, part of their 25th anniversary series. I love the compressor, and I'll tell you why. But first, the first half of this, I did a little sweetening, a little more EQ. We bumped up the low range a little bit. That's, where are we, 75 hertz. And then I don't usually do this, but it just helped. I took out some of the very, very extremely high end, rolled some of that off, and then we popped up the highs even further. And it's a balance. And one of the reasons why I thought this was necessary is because of the sound. It's the particular sound that the compressor also puts on the audio. And we're compressing, I'm hitting the compressor pretty hard, but the ratio is only 2-to-1. So, and this gives it a nice thick sound. And I have also noticed, I believe this compressor has kind of an auto gain. So it's lowering the louder parts and it's raising the quieter parts quite a bit automatically. And I just like the sound, and I think it really did a good job. And so let's listen to what just the audio track from Waves is doing.
Curioso para saber como converter a sua gravação de voz em texto, revelamos 5 maneiras de converter texto de gravação de voz neste breve guia.
You can see we're barely reducing any of the audio, maybe 1 to 3 dB at most, and then compensating and making sure we've got a nice gain staging happening to make sure what's coming in is the same as what's going out. So now we'll take a listen to what it sounds like all together. And what's really cool is when it's recorded right, when you have a great microphone, when your room is right, whether it's soundproof or bookcases or shelves and books, whatever you have, and you get the processing right, it really sounds incredible. Especially when there's no problem and you're just using the processing to optimize. And that's definitely why I think this brings the sound up to the next level. These type of things, this processing, and even running through and talking to Pedro about recording levels and getting his gain staging and jumping on a call for FaceTime, that's the kind of stuff that I do for voiceover talent and voiceover artists. It could be so complicated. You're a voiceover artist and you're saying, I just want to read script and do my artwork, and I want to voice these spots. I don't want to have to go into being an audio engineer, because some of this stuff can get very complicated. But once you're set up, once you've got a nice little preset that you can always go to, and you have the confidence that your voice sounds good, I think you're able to deliver better voiceovers. You're able to be more confident in your delivery, and it's just when you've got it dialed in, it makes you perform better. That goes well with the sound on stage for a band, and that holds true for voiceover talent and artists as well. I could suggest some equipment for you. I could help you with your connections, room treatment changes if necessary. And then I can do like what I've done here for Pedro and create a custom voiceover processing chain. If you just like to hear what it would sound like with your voice processed, or if you feel like you may have some kind of a problem in your room or your equipment, send me the audio file and we can take it from there. All right, let's hear the difference between the unprocessed and the final processed sound that I've done for Pedro.
Curioso para saber como converter a sua gravação de voz em texto, revelamos 5 maneiras de converter texto de gravação de voz neste breve guia. Vamos começar com a pergunta óbvia. Você precisa converter facilmente as gravações de áudio em texto? Muitas pessoas usam a transcrição em algum momento das suas vidas. Desde fazer anotações em reuniões de negócios até transcrever depoimentos de testemunhas em processos judiciais.
His voice is so present. It sounds like it's right in front of your face. You hear all the detail. And what we've done really is corrected any overabundant frequencies in the recording. We've lowered those, attenuated those. And if there was some frequencies I wasn't hearing enough, I was able to make those louder in the highs and things. So the outcome is a big, wide frequency sound that really fills the space. It's the wall of sound, and it's all coming from his voice. When you get your voice sound right, and when you love what's coming out of your speakers and what you're able to send to potential clients, you will perform better, you'll be more confident, you'll read better, and ultimately that's all going to help grow your voiceover career. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I do a really good job of getting back to you as quick as I can, and also I go into some detail and really see if I can help your problem. And by all means, it's time for you to submit your file if you haven't yet. I'd love to hear what you're working with, and I could make some suggestions for you. If you want to submit your voice, the easiest way to do it is in the link in the description. It has all the instructions on what to send me and what I need. I also have more information on my website about the custom processing service. Let's make your voice sound better. I'm Lenny B. Thanks for watching.